Hi, I'm Dr. Rick Duplantis, and welcome to It's Your Health. Our program tonight is regarding Alzheimer's disease, dementia. And I've got some research articles from the Medicine, Science in Medicine, Exercise, Sports Medicine Journal, and I'd like to give you this information. It's cutting edge information, latest research out on Alzheimer's. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Uh, we'll go ahead and talk about the disease of Alzheimer's. It's the most common type of dementia we have. There's several different kinds of dementia, but this is the most common type of dementia. Interferes with daily life through declines in the thought process, learning, memory, executive function. Those things that tell us where we keep our keys, that tell us where our automobile is, how to get to the grocery store. There's executive function. Although cross-sectional studies have consistently found a link between physical exercise and cognitive performance, a cause and effect relationship, has yet to be established. In the study that was done, researchers found that running on a treadmill can reverse those with cognitive declines, and that they are due to Alzheimer's disease, regardless of how severe those effects may be. Specifically, the mice in the study had early or later stages of Alzheimer's disease, showed signs of improved cognitive performance, short and long-term memory through exercise after following a prescribed 12-week treadmill running program. There have been thousands of studies on how regular exercise affects cardiovascular health, and this study shows the importance of exercise on the effect of mental performance and Alzheimer's dementia. There's a book written called Brain Rules that came out a few years back. And the study that they had done, that in the aging population, those individuals who exercised on a treadmill at least 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, after a period of 3 months, showed dramatic improvement in cognitive skills, measurable on cognitive tests. These individuals showed an increase of at least 35 to 40% in their cognitive abilities. You really need to pay attention to these things. We need to keep aware of the fact that our diet is very important in Alzheimer's disease. Research came out in a study about coconut oil being very effective in preventing Alzheimer's disease. As well, the exercise is something we can physically do, but our dietary and lifestyle habits of what are we eating is also very important to us as well. A number of other studies have taken place, reported in the same journal, that exchanging physical activity for sitting time associated with lower risk of death in less active older individuals. In the study, the investigators measured the amount of time older adults spent sitting and in different physical activities. The next used a statistical model to estimate this risk of death associated with replacing 1 hour of sitting time with an equal amount of physical activity. The investigators found that for less active older adults, replacing sitting time with exercise or other activities like household chores or walking resulted in lower risk of death. In contrast, highly active older adults who had to replace an hour of sitting with purposeful exercise reduced the risk of death. Although the researchers cautioned that the results were from statistical models, that not from actual changes in behavior, replacing sitting time with physical activity appears to provide important mortality benefits, particularly for less active adults. Sedentary lifestyle has long been implicated in cardiovascular disease and the progression of atherosclerosis. So the more active that we are, the less likely we are to develop these conditions, and the better health it will be in as a result of it. There was another study done on exercise training increases the ease of movement and energy expenditure following weight loss. A decrease in energy expenditure can cause many dietary weight loss programs to fail. To evaluate the effectiveness of exercise training on energy expenditure during dietary weight loss, 140 overweight women were placed on an 800 kilocalorie a day diet and assigned to one of 3 groups: aerobic exercise, walking or cycling, resistance weight training, and then the third group, no exercise at all. They were the control. The low-calorie diet produced an average loss of 25 pounds. Energy expenditure decreased following weight loss for the no exercise control group, but the resistant trainers increased energy expenditures. Ease of walking increased with training and was associated with greater energy expenditure due to the physical activity. The results suggest that exercise training prevents a decrease in the energy expenditure in the presence of a dietary weight loss program. Resistance training increased the physical activity and improved ease and economy of walking as well. And a very good study on the effectiveness of weight training and a low-calorie diet at the same time. We can follow a low-calorie diet and lose weight without even doing any exercise. But what you're going to lose in that type of program, you're going to lose a lot of lean muscle mass. Anybody can lose weight. What you do not want to lose is your lean muscle mass. As we age, we start to put on more body fat and lose lean muscle mass. That's not what we want to do. We want to lose body fat. We want to increase the lean muscle mass, because by training and increasing the lean muscle mass, we increase the basal metabolic rate. Thereby, each new pound of muscle that we gain through weight training, through resistance training, we increase the basal metabolic rate as well. Many people feel that aerobic exercise is a way to lose a lot of weight. It does increase the burning of calories. It does increase your metabolism. But when weight training occurs, an individual does resistance training with weights or machines, basal metabolic rate is up for more than 8 to 9 hours, 10 hours later, much longer, and the BMI is up. This means that they're burning body fat after the fact. Whereas in aerobic training, maybe 1 hour after training, the basal metabolic rate goes down to baseline again. Okay? There's a loss of calories. You burn up calories when you're doing aerobics. You burn up calories when you're doing resistance exercise. But you're losing that lean mass. The more aerobics you do, the thinner the person becomes, both body fat-wise, but also exponentially lean muscle mass. We need the lean muscle mass, especially as we're getting older. We rely upon the lean muscle mass for our strength to be able to function normally in society. A lot of the elderly will fall, have fractured hips, and this causes a tremendous amount of problems, leading to some demise. The big prevention thing is to stay physically active. Keep your lean muscle mass. Like I said, the normal process of aging, we're going to lose lean muscle mass as we get much older. So those people who are very physically active, one way or another, or exercising or moving, they're using their body, using their muscular system, these people are going to be less prone to falls and fractures as such. And as we get a little bit older, you have a bad fall like that, it can be very, very detrimental to your health. I've got an article that was posted in September 23rd, 2015. Alzheimer's disease, brain, mental performance. The amyloid plaque we talk about, these neurofibrillary tangles that cause Alzheimer's, I brought this up in other programs, but this is a different study here. Amyloid beta 42 is a protein. It's a natural byproduct of the brain activity. It normally is cleared from the brain before it can clump together into plaques that are suspected to be a key contributor to Alzheimer's disease. Randall Bateman from the Washington University School of Medicine and colleagues, they assessed the amyloid beta kinetics in 112 men and women, ages 60 to 87 years of 87 years of age, half of whom had clinical signs of Alzheimer's dementia. Plaques had begun to form in the brains of 62 of the participants. Each subject received detailed mental and physical evaluations, including brain scans to check for the presence of the plaques, and cerebrospinal fluid analysis to monitor the body's production and clearance of this amyloid beta 42 and other proteins. Note that in patients with evidence of plaques, the researchers observed that the amyloid beta 42 appears to be more likely to drop out of the fluid that bathes the brain and clump together into plaques. The reduced ability of the body to clear the amyloid beta 42, such as those seen in older participants, were associated with the clinical symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. So we're looking at the body's inability to clear this protein, amyloid beta 42, which is known for the amyloid plaques. The body can't clear it, then this same beta amyloid 42 protein ends up into the brain and clumping and causing Alzheimer's disease. Reduced clearance rates of this amyloid beta 42, those seen in the older were associated with the clinical symptoms such as memory loss, dementia, and personality changes. Reporting a highly significant correlation between increasing age and the slowing of the beta turnover rates, the study authors submit that these findings reveal a mechanistic link between human aging and the risk of amyloidosis, which may be owing to a dramatic slowing of the turnover, of the clearing of this beta amyloid, increasing the likelihood of the protein misfolding that leads to its deposit in the brain itself. This was published in the Annals of Neurology, volume 78, in September of 2015. This is new research. Another article on Alzheimer's that I want to go ahead and give here is brain boosting sleep position. And this is kind of a novelty. You know, it talks about your sleep pattern and how the position you sleep in can affect the brain. And the brain's glymphatic pathway is responsible for clearing harmful waste, particularly the amyloid beta plaques. We're back talking about this because the amyloid beta plaque is very significant and found in the brains, deposited in the brains of individuals with Alzheimer's disease. You know, these plaques are characteristic of the disease. During sleep, the employing an animal model was done to study from Stony Brook University, was done on the marker for the clearance of the capacity of the glymphatic pathway. They found that sleeping in a lateral position on one side may be more effective to remove brain waste, including amyloid beta, as compared to sleeping on the back or stomach. The study authors submit that we propose that the most popular sleep position, lateral, has evolved to optimize waste removal of the brain. You know, this was in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2015. This is the latest research on Alzheimer's that we're reporting on. You know, and our posture is very important when we sleep. You sleep on your stomach, you know, you're going to cause some tension in your back because of the psoas muscle attached on the vertebral bodies and also on the femur, and it's going to act as a tension throughout the night, and you could wake up and your back could be hurting the next morning. And when you hurt your back, I always tell my patients, sleep on your side and bring your knees up. So the lateral position is very healthy for the brain and the lower back, actually. I just want to add that. You know, the physiological changes in specific brain regions which are associated with memory may be precipitated by a vascular risk factors. You know, we've known the correlation between what's good for your heart is good for your brain. You know, a lot of the same nutrients that are good for the heart are very good for the brain. And when we have good heart health, in turn, we're going to have good brain health as well. There were a number of previous studies suggest that cardiovascular risk factors may contribute to cognitive decline. This is from the University of Southern California, and colleagues did the data collected on 1,600 men and women enrolled in the Dallas Heart Study. Participants were divided into two age groups. 805 subjects were under 50 years of age, and 824 ages of 50 and older. The researchers analyzed the data from the initial baseline visit, which included laboratory and clinical analysis, and followed up with a visit 7 years later consisting of brain MRI and cognitive tests, measuring mild cognitive impairment and preclinical Alzheimer's disease. By comparing the initial visits in cardiovascular risk factors, they were identified to the MRI results of the cognitive scores. The team was able to distinguish the specific risk factors of alcohol consumption, smoking, diabetes, obesity, and their relationship to smaller volumes in the three targeted regions of the brain. These results confirm that lower cognitive test scores correlated with the lower brain volumes in each area. The data analysis revealed that risk factors of alcohol use and diabetes were associated with a smaller total brain volume, while smoking and obesity were linked with reduced volumes in the posterior cingulate cortex, the area of the brain connected to memory retrieval as well as emotional and social behavior. In addition, lower hippocampal mass was linked to both alcohol consumption and smoking, alcohol use, obesity, and high fasting blood glucose numbers correlated with reduced pre-cortex reduction in size. The findings suggest that the patients aged 50 and older had diminished hippocampus volumes, along with indicators of cognitive decline, while smaller posterior cingulate volumes were noticed and better predictors of patients under 50. This study, the authors submit that smaller volumes in specific brain regions considered to be early markers for dementia risk were associated with a specific cardiovascular risk factors and cognitive deficits. So, the fact that our brain and our heart both function better, when we have, good cardiovascular system and good vascular health. And this was from the Journal of Radiology, July 2015. I hope you've gained some insight on the various benefits of exercise beyond for the physical fitness of it and your ability to move and to function better mechanically, but also from the cognitive standpoint, how it contributes to brain function. This is very important. I hope that you've learned some of the bits about Alzheimer's, about the amyloid beta plaquing, again, that occurs in the brain. It's thought to be one of the major players in the development of Alzheimer's disease. I'm Dr. Rick Duplantis, and I thank you for tuning in to our show, It's Your Health. I hope you'll tune in next week to the next episode, and I hope you'll stay with us. Like us on Facebook. I hope you have a very pleasant good evening. I'm Dr. Rick Duplantis. Good evening.